Israel's military says it has recovered a body of one of the Israeli hostages from a building near the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza. That is the site, as you know, of the major ongoing Israeli operation. As condemnation of the operation mounts, the Israeli Defense Forces are offering what it says is evidence that Hamas stored weapons and other combat equipment in that hospital. Hamas and hospital officials deny that the hospital is being used for that. Dan Senor was a foreign policy advisor in the George W. Bush administration. He is also the co-author of the New York Times best-selling book, The Genius of Israel, and joins us once again here on the show. Dan, nice to have you on back here on the Hill. I'm sure you've been listening to some of that, and I want to start there. What do you make of basically what we've seen here in the last week to 10 days or so?
Look, in the U.S., what we're seeing is a total split screen situation where on the one hand, there are protests that are turning violent, that are expressing and are engaging in vandalism and are using some of the oldest anti-Semitic tropes from previous eras, from previous centuries that one would have thought was totally stigmatized. And they are used to express outrage against Jews for objecting to being slaughtered. Keep in mind, the protests we're watching didn't begin when Israel went into Gaza. The outrage and the protest was being directed at the Jews when Hamas attacked Israel. So it's like, I mean, they're sort of saying the quiet part out loud. The problem isn't Israel responding for the barbarism directed at the Jews. The problem is the Jews and Israel's presence anywhere. And they're using the moment to pile on. That is the reality of what we've seen in those protests versus the very peaceful rally, as some of your guests talked about a couple of days ago. I was at the rally. It was a celebration of America. It was a celebration of Israel, two countries with shared values, and it was peaceful, and it was quite impressive.
Right.
It's like, American engagement in civic life at its best.
So those lawmakers, there were several lawmakers at the rally on Tuesday, and as you know, one of the debates here in Washington involves getting aid to Israel and what that may or may not look like. But lawmakers have gone home, Dan. It is Thanksgiving for them already at this point in time. Here was Senator John Hickenlooper, quote, "I'm happy we get to go home and have Thanksgiving. That's great, but I think it's nuts. Even Israel, we're now punting on Israel. When has this country ever done this? Are lawmakers leaving Israel by the wayside as you see it?"
Look, I'm worried about it. I think the funding will get passed, but and there are plenty of supplies coming from the U.S. to Israel, which is important. But I'm worried about it. I'm worried that this is going to drag on, and I'm mostly worried that Israel could kind of get tangled up in partisan politics over issues that aren't germane to the war at hand.
Your book is about the resilience of Israel. We've seen calls for Benjamin Netanyahu to step down. How resilient right now is Israel as you see it, or are you worried right now?
This is the one thing I'm not worried about. I mean, I think the United States has strong institutions and a weak society today. The U.S. is in some kind of social decline, rising rates of loneliness, people living these atomized lives, deaths of despair, shrinking populations, fertility rates down, life expectancy plateauing. Israel, it's all the opposite, right? People are having lots of children. There's no loneliness epidemic. There's no mental health crisis. There are no deaths of despair. And the country showing tremendous solidarity right now. So while Israel may not have strong institutions, it has an unbelievably strong society. That's what our book is about. We're explaining how Israel comes together in crisis, this incredible solidarity. People feel a sense of connection to family, community, and a connection to country, waving the flag, embracing the flag, not burning their flag.
Right.
And we're seeing it right now where people from all walks of life, reserve turnout, just to give you one data point, reserve turnout, people turning out for reserve duty is about 150%, 150,
right,
because the IDF called out more reservists than they thought they would need. They didn't expect everyone to turn out. And you're seeing that from across the religious spectrum in Israel, across the political spectrum. It's quite inspiring.
All right, Dan Senor, got to leave it there. Thank you, sir. Well, thank you for watching. And make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.